Have you ever realized that your health journey has started to feel more stressful than life giving? Maybe food takes up way too much mental space. Workouts feel like pressure instead of stewardship. And even when you're doing all the right things, you still feel exhausted and at war with your body. What if the issue isn't discipline, but control? What if God isn't asking you to try harder, restrict more, or chase another version of yourself, but to invite Him into the process?
Today's conversation is for the woman who feels stuck in cycles of obsessing, restriction, and burnout. We're talking about what it looks like to honor your body without idolizing it, to move and fuel yourself with peace rather than punishment, and to build strength so that you can be more present, patient, and grounded in the roles God has placed in your life. So grab your coffee, get comfy, and pull up a seat with us because this one is a gentle heart check that you didn't know you needed.
Do you long for deeper connection with God, kingdom purpose, and peace that isn't shaken by life's storms, and spirit filled friendships to walk it out with? Welcome to Spirit Filled Girl Talk, the podcast for modern Christian women done with surface level faith, ready to live surrendered and cultivate life giving sisterhood. We're your hosts, Satin and Sarah, two best friends refined through seasons of surrender, inviting you into real conversations about walking with Jesus in everyday life. So grab your coffee, open your heart, and get ready for some spirit filled girl talk.
Today, we're so excited to welcome Coryn Brown and Crysanne Clay, the mother-daughter duo behind the Her Healthy Body podcast. What we love about Coryn and Crysanne is that they don't just talk about health and fitness from a do more, try harder place. They've lived the cycle of obsession, restriction, and burnout. And they've also experienced what changes when God is invited into the process. With over 20 years of combined experience, they help busy women, especially moms, build strength, nourish their bodies well, and create consistency without guilt or extremes. Their heart is to help women care for their bodies from a place of peace, stewardship, and faith, not control or perfection. So we knew this conversation would fit perfectly into our Your Body is His Temple series because at the core, it's not just about fitness. It's about learning to honor God with our bodies in a way that actually supports the lives that He called us to live. And so, Coryn and Crysanne, we're so grateful to have you here. Welcome to Spirit Filled Girl Talk.
Thank you
Thank
so
you for
much for
having
having
us.
us.
Well, before we get into anything practical, I would actually love it if both of you would share a little bit of your story, what your relationship with food and fitness used to look like, and then what led you to desire to help other women. Go first.
I could start that. Yeah. So, my relationship with health and fitness, since I can remember, basically could be summed up by saying one thing: eat little, be little. That's really where I resonate. Skinny is just what I chased from a very young age. I had anorexia as a teenager. If just not eating was, so important to me to be so skinny. And as soon as I kind of like morphed out of that, like, what am I doing to myself? Because I had gotten a lot of health issues because of it. And I kind of woke up and said, no, I'm going to do this the healthy way. But that healthy way turned into anorexia and or
Orthorexia.
excuse me, orthorexia, which I said, I became obsessed with health and fitness, obsessed. But it was an obsession still with health and fitness, but to be skinny. And it has caused me a ton of health issues. It was chaotic. It was nothing that felt right. And I learned the truth later on exactly what true health and fitness look like. And I wanted to scream it from the rooftops of we don't need to do and destroy ourselves and be obsessed to be healthy. It's actually something that's actually pretty peaceful, calming, and God's way. And that's when I was like, I have to tell other women who are struggling with this skinny mentality. Um,
Mm.
there's a healthier way of doing it, and you can still have the body that you want without punishing yourself to do it and hurting yourself, and that's what I've done.
There is a dark side to health and fitness, and everyone might think whenever
Yeah.
they're starting this health and fitness journey that it's all going to be all sunshine and rainbows just because I'm eating healthy and moving my body, but there's a very dark side to it. And whenever I was growing up, I obviously watched her and she was very disciplined. She always ate healthy, she always took care of herself, and I was like, okay, like that's what I'm supposed to do. But we both got so involved in it, and it wasn't about being healthy anymore. It was just about how can I look the best. I did bodybuilding shows because I was like, that's the way that I'm going to get this body that I really want. And believe it or not, people in health and fitness that start that off in this career, they start off in the dark side because they are, most of them, I won't speak for all, but a lot of them do, because they are just so addicted to this type of feeling and they want everyone else to feel this way. And we started out like that with our clients. Like, we were teaching them the same unhealthy, unsustainable ways to get to lose 20 pounds because that's what they wanted. And we were giving them what they wanted, not what they needed. And I remember, this was a couple years into where we were both fitness instructors. I was taking a lot of clients online, and these women were getting their results, but then I'd hear a year later, like, they're back to where they're at. And I was just like, I remember crying to my husband, being like, if I can't help myself, how am I supposed to help other women? And that's where we just made this shift of, we have to do this for our health. This can't be in the back of our mind, but I just care about what the number on the scale says. This has to be for a greater purpose. And that greater purpose was whenever we did really discover what true health meant and how to be stronger and how to choose strong over skinny and invite
Yeah.
God into this as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's important for people to hear. And thank you for sharing. And I know, it takes vulnerability to share those types of struggles. I really resonate with a lot of what you're saying because I too found myself in the fitness world and in the bodybuilding world. And, I never competed, but I, for as long as I could remember, was always focused on my appearance. And I think it really came down to what I learned about being a woman when I was a child, right? And that's actually what led me to getting breast implants, is because my grandmother always said to me, she always said things like, make sure you're sucking in your stomach and you're sticking your butt out and have good posture. And you don't want to look all bloated and fat. And she always praised me for being skinny. And she told me, teasingly, she said, you're going to be 4'11", just like me, but don't worry, you're going to have the Johnson boobs. Her breasts were double D's. And of course, I didn't get the Johnson boobs. And that phrase, don't worry, always stuck with me because it made me worry when I didn't get them, that I'm lacking something, that I'm not complete, right? That I'm not a real woman. And fast forward, I got into fitness in my late 20s and I got in the most incredible shape of my life. And it was all about appearance. And I look at those women on stages and I'm going to look just like them. And I don't want to compete, but I want to look like I could. And that was my door that opened to getting breast implants. I was like, I need breast implants. Look at them. They all have breast implants, So yeah, and it is a dark side. There is very much a dark side. And I've struggled with perfectionism my whole life. And I've always said, like, I'm a recovering perfectionist because I think it's something that you deal with daily. And it's not like just a one and done. You don't overcome it overnight, right? You have to constantly work through it.
I
So
do
I'd
it
love to,
every day, every single day.
yeah,
I am a
yeah,
perfectionist and at heart, and that's where I remain. But you're right, it's an ongoing journey, and every single day I face it. She sees it in me all
Oh,
the
yeah.
time. Yeah, it's I just want to perfect this. I want to. It's control.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
want to control
Oh,
everything.
absolutely.
True.
Mhm.
Which is
And I have to fight
always rooted
it.
in fear. So,
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
Yeah.
So when did you realize that what may have looked like discipline on the outside was actually exhausting you on the inside?
When my health took a turn. I mean, when I was starving myself again for appearance, and this is just coming from like you had it with your grandmother. It was the world, and it was what the world was saying is important, and so this is where this came from. But with the anorexia, I completely destroyed my gut, and I am 55 years old. This is going from how many decades?
Yeah.
And I still struggle completely with that. And when it turned into it was the anorexia I got over, but it was decades and decades of trying to punish my body into submission.
Mhm.
And no matter what, I always said it was health and fitness, but the back of my mind was always looks. So no matter what it was, how hard it was, I was disciplined to do it. And I would take it to another level. It never got me fulfillment. It never got me like where I wanted to be. My body never looked like it wanted to. It was just chaos. It really wasn't me coming to a like, "Oh, this is the wrong way." It was my body shutting down
Mm.
that said, "Girl, you're doing it all wrong." And to this day, guys, I cannot if I undereat just a little bit, because 'cause I've wrecked my nervous system so bad
Yeah.
with the constant working out, the constant dieting, the constant eating less, the constant trying to burn more calories. The harder you go, the better, like, that was my mentality. So because of decades of that, my body now, when I do any of that and I go in a little bit too extreme, I my body gives me a migraine, flu-like headache. My body shuts down and I am sick as a dog. So it took that for me
Yeah.
to wake up, like finally wake up and be like, what are you doing? Like there has to be a better way of reaching your health goal, your fitness goals than to be hurting yourself like
Mhm.
this. So
Yeah.
that's where it came from for me.
I mean, like, watching her go through that, I was like, "Okay, we've been doing this wrong." Like, there has to be a better way because watching her health deteriorate and me just I was more on the side of, like, we are very similar but very different. She is very perfectionist, A-type personality. I am more like we always make fun of each other when we're working out, like, "What is the least I can do?" And she is like, "What is the most I can do to really push it?" So, like, for me, it was dealing with just the constant if I'm being disciplined, then I'm always restricting, and I'm thinking I have to do more, and then that would turn into me just burning out and not wanting to do it anymore and completely stopping. So it was just like I would yo-yo diet so much, I would gain the same 20 to 30 pounds and lose the same 20 to 30 pounds over and over. And I was just like, there has to be a better way because I used to tell myself, like, no, you just have to do like this is what healthy people do. And it's just
Mhm.
so ironic, like, listening to that because it's like her health's deteriorating, my mental health's all over the place. I'm obsessed with food. I'm obsessed with just trying to be skinny, and it all just that's where we really saw that it was just crumbling us instead of making us feel better when in the beginning of all of this, we did this because we wanted to be healthy.
And
Mhm.
mind you, we both were fitness instructors at the same gym, and we got compliments all the time. "Oh, you look great." You know, you're we that was feeding us the whole
Sure.
time, and well, we must be doing something right because we
Mhm.
look so good. And we looked back on pictures of ourselves, and I was like, "Looked sickly."
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
I look like death, and she was, she's looking picture herself, and I'm like, if people knew behind the scenes, like
Of
of
truly what we were
truly
doing.
what we were doing and how we actually felt, it was not the picture of
Mhm.
health. It was just what
Mhm.
the outside and, that's all we were concerned about.
Yeah, I agree 100%, and I was in that same boat. It had nothing to do with health for me. I would eat protein shakes and Skinny Cow ice cream sandwiches for post-workout.
I remember those. They
Be
were
Oh,
good.
Yeah.
yeah. Oh my gosh, I would eat monsters of those.
Just because I could, it fit
Right.
within my macros.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Right, yeah, that's another unhealthy part of it, right?
Mhm.
Right, and so for me, I really yeah, that obsession is a real thing, especially as a perfectionist, and there's no such thing as perfection, and you're always critiquing and overanalyzing and finding flaws where they don't exist, even when someone else is praising you for how amazing you look, right? It's never enough. And, for me, it really became an idol in my life. And so I'm wondering if you could speak to, how do you tell the difference between honoring your body and obsessing over it?
Well, obsessing over it is chaos, and it feels like chaos, and it hurts you. Honoring it is peace. And when you are truly honoring your body and you get rid of the whole um, aesthetic part of it, and you let that go, you finally start seeing, this doesn't have to be so punishing. And this is why we actually did create Her Healthy Body. The health and fitness industry will teach you harder, better, like push it, follow this program, follow that program, do exactly this. And you'll see online, and this was a really hard thing to do as us as trainers, because we were always on social media, always looking at a new diet, a new workout, and then we're seeing all these bodies. You see all the perfect bodies, which is what 1% of our population, but we're looking at those bodies over and over and over. And that gets into your mind, and you start thinking, why don't I look like that? I'm doing everything. And it's just complete chaos. And that's what it feels like. I mean, this one was on social media, like that was how we were promoting our business, and she was doing all the social media, and she saw that in her life, like how that was affecting her and the chaos that it was bringing. I mean, she can talk about how that changed her life, which was amazing.
Yeah, social media is like such a trigger for so many women because it's a trigger for comparison. And
Yep.
we are squirrels in social media. We go from one thing to the other because we see what this person's doing and oh, they have really nice abs, but I want to grow my butt too. So it's just like you're going from one thing to the other and you're just never like her and I both never just stuck with one thing and really followed through with that because we just were like on to the next and we believed that that was confusing our body, so we're going to get better results this way. Like you just give yourself so many excuses in your head as to why you're doing all of these things and you're just blind to it. And with social media, I mean, I was sharing my life on there for I don't know, 5+ years. And all that brought was more comparison, more me actually not being authentic. It was taking me out of that because, if these people are watching me and I want to grow my business, I want to get the followers, like it just was it all went away from why I started this to begin with, is to just help women. And it went from now I care about the amount of followers I have. I care about how many views I'm getting on videos and what can really wow people. And it's just getting away from all of that. And I'm now like pretty much completely off of social media. It's just this peace and this free feeling that I never thought that I was going to have because I was like, well, this is the life I chose and I just have to do it. But when you are in a place of peace with your health and fitness and your relationship with food and your body, it is like, this is how it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be chaotic.
And I think that's where we came to peace, is when we stopped listening. Because in our training, as a trainer, you're actually taught to treat your body as a machine, like calories in, calories out. Like there was no like hormonal aspect of it. It was just like treating your body like if you work harder, do more, you're going to get the results that you want. And there was no like mental aspect of it. There was no hormone aspect of it. There was like underneath, because I could say my clients, for example, in the beginning, and I apologize to all my beginning clients because I treated them like a machine. I treated them like, well, you're eating this many calories and you need to, to lose weight, you got to lower your calories and you got to go move more. And, I didn't know, and I wasn't taught this, that underneath that, their metabolism was tanked. Their hormones were tanked. Nothing like I wasn't taught the sleep aspect of it. I wasn't taught to actually honor your body. And this is what we learned. And this is why we now want to help so many women, that you need to love your body into submission, not hate it into submission. And you just are not taught that as a trainer. It is just all
What the science
what
tells
the
you.
science tells you. Yeah. And we just want to scream from the rooftops like, no, there is a much easier, more peaceful, better way to love your body, to love how it looks. Because I understand when you're 50 pounds overweight, people don't want to hear that, you don't
Just
want
love yourself.
just love yourself. Right. Exactly. Because you're hating yourself at the time and you don't want to be 50 pounds overweight. And they also don't want to be told to eat more. There's a lot of things that
Yeah.
they don't want to be told. And like she had said in the beginning, we were just doing what they wanted and they wanted to see results right away. And we know how to get you. I know how to get you there, but it's not going to be sustainable
Right.
and it's not going to be good for you in the long run. And you're going to have so many other health problems for it. So this is why we created Her Healthy Body, because there is a way. There's a way to do this that is loving and caring, and you'll get there without the struggle. I mean, there'll be a little bit of discipline, don't get me wrong. I mean, we can't sit there and eat a whole box of Oreo cookies and expect to get there. We're not talking about that. We're just
Yeah.
talking like we've discovered how to get there in a peaceful way.
Sure. Well,
Mhm.
on that note, I would really love it if you would take just a couple minutes to share some of the subtle signs that fitness or food has actually crossed into control rather than loving our bodies and caring for them the way God designed.
Control is a big one.
That's a big one for
That's a
you.
big one for me. I have to control everything. It is really hard for me to release control. But I I can share real quick in prayer one morning. I don't know if you guys know the Hallow app.
Mhm,
Have you heard about the
Mhm.
Hallow app?
mhm.
I love
Yeah.
the Hallow app. And Lent started, and I love mental prayer. Praying, but putting myself in the scene. And Sister Miriam was that morning talking about control, and she put you in the middle of a road, and the road behind me was like the road I know. Everything that I did, all my control, everything that's familiar. But when I look back on that road, it never brought me to where I needed to be. The road ahead of me was, I didn't know it. I didn't have a GPS to go on it. All I could see was this like dark, windy, c- you know, scary road, but at the end was this little light. And God was telling me to go to that light, but to step out of control. Don't know where you're going. Don't know the road ahead. It's a narrow, hard road. But the road behind me is smooth, it's paved. I know it.
It's comfortable.
It's comfortable and like this is me. I'm in that middle of that road all the time and I want to go back to that. But everything that I did, taking control, everything I did not serve me.
Sure.
I need to step forward in faith and go to that light. And he promised me when I go to that light, it's a porch light. And when you open up the door, he's there and he wraps you in his arms and takes you the rest of the way. And it's just that's the letting go of control that I have to visualize all the time. But it's a struggle every single day. But I just put myself in that road. Hey, I'm not going to go back to looking for that diet. I'm not going to go back looking for the perfect workout. I'm not going to go back to starving myself, to restricting myself. It didn't get me where I wanted to be. So, God, you take control. I'm going to follow you. And I just say, Holy Spirit, today, instead of me writing out my perfect plan, instead of me writing out my perfect way, what I'm going to do today, I'm going to let the Holy Spirit lead me to this thing or to the next thing. That letting go of control has given me so much more peace. And I don't waste time writing out my daily list of ridiculous things that I expect from myself every single day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that list can be like 50 things. And I'm always like, I gotta let go of control.
Yeah. I love that. That's beautiful. And, our pastor said something recently because we were talking about control with him. And he said, control is really just an illusion.
Yep.
Mhm,
We really don't actually have as much control as we think we do.
mhm.
So true.
And I think that really helped me to think about it differently and realize, oh man, you're right. God is sovereign over everything.
Yep.
Mhm.
And so I can trust him. I can hand over. I can surrender to him. I can hand it over and trust him because he is in control.
Yep.
With
And
our
he wants good
clients
things for me.
it's trying to help them understand, like following God doesn't mean you have to give up what you love. I think
Mm.
that was another thing. Like, I think I didn't let go of control because I didn't want to give up the things that I love. Like, following him isn't hard because he's such a loving God. There is something called the Father's Love Letter. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. We give our clients it, and there's like probably, I would say there's about 60 to 70 places you can find in the in the Bible that tells you how much you're worth to him. And I read this to myself all the time. And there's like for example, 2 Corinthians 1:3 through 4. I am also the Father who comforts you in all your troubles.
Mhm.
In Psalms 34, when you're brokenhearted, I'm close to you. In Revelations 21, I one day I wipe away every tear from your eyes. Like, he wants to show us marvelous things. There's so much in the Bible that speaks to his love
Mhm.
for us. And if he loves us that much, why don't I trust and let
Mhm.
go of control
Mhm.
and trust him with that and walk in his purpose? Because I can't see. We're not meant to see. You know,
Mm.
I cannot see what he has in plan for me, but I know it's much greater than I could ever dream. And if I let go of control, I might actually see that. I will see that dream if
Mhm.
I let go of my control and give it to him. And I just have to say, Jesus, I trust in you in every situation.
Mhm.
And that's where it is not easy. But,
No.
and I thank God I have her. She's my, she's with me all the time. And, she's my sound voice a lot of times when I can't see it. Because we always say trainers need trainers.
Mhm.
Like, it's
Coaches need coaches.
coaches
Mhm.
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
coaches. Like, we can't
Absolutely.
we
Mhm.
can't see a lot of what I can see everything on what she does and what my clients do. But myself, I'm blind. I can't see it. So yeah,
Yeah.
she's my coach. That's for sure.
Yeah. You can't see the whole picture when you're in the frame.
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's inter
100%.
I think it's interesting how we can be doing all of the healthy things and not even realize that our heart posture is not healthy. It's unhealthy, right? And so reminding ourselves on a daily basis that surrender is the most peaceful place to remain, not control, right? Because the world does teach us control the narrative, and then you're happy, right? But that's not. It's that's countercultural to what God calls us to, which is a life of surrender to Him. Because, like Sarah said, it's an illusion, and it doesn't happen. The control is the Lord's, and so when we have a heart posture that desires to be healthy, that looks first like surrendering it and laying it at the altar before the feet of the Father and trusting Him with the outcome, right? It's not always going to look the way we think it should. But if our heart posture is healthy, then we can be healthy on the outside, right?
100%. Yeah. And you were gonna say, oh well, it's like in our practice, like I mean, when we're helping our clients, um, they want to go all in. They want to do it all, like because they're motivated. Like, let's go. We're gonna do it all. Like they want to hear the hard things, and we give them one thing, just one thing to do, and let's master that. And this is peaceful. This is what the health journey is supposed to look like. It is supposed to fit into our lives in a peaceful way, making us better people. Because I know when we go all in, like in my past, I go all in, I want to do everything hard. I never showed up for my family that way. I'm too busy worried about what I'm going to eat, my next workout, what I'm gonna like, how I'm going to not eat. That's more of it than me, how am I gonna eat? But it's that mentality that's why we do our coaching, because we just want to show a peaceful way of going about this that actually fits in your life, that is
Mhm.
not hard to do or chaotic.
That's beautiful. And I think that's so needed because you're right. What the world tells you is so different. And for those of us who are perfectionists or control freaks, you know, it's harder to let that go and trust and lean into the Lord with it. It's easier to just have a death grip on things
Mhm.
and want to control the outcomes. And when I think about control, I think about like gosh, I dealt with so much constant mental chatter behind the scenes of like different foods and workouts and, planning all of that out and, taking my food with me places and even to social events. It was just so
Mhm.
absurd thinking back now what people must have thought.
In there, I can totally
And
relate.
there's so much, guilt and restriction and, if I go off plan, I got to go work it off, and punishing yourselves. And, that completely separates you from the spiritual aspect of things. And it leads to so much burnout. So I want to circle back to burnout and talk a little bit more about that because so many women think they're failing when really they're just completely depleted. And so, why do you think so many women go all in, like you just talked about? Because that was me too. It's like all or nothing, and then completely fall off.
It's because we almost treat ourselves like we're athletes. Like whenever we do this, we look at these athletes, we look at their bodies, and we're just even bikini competitors, and we're like, they are doing so much all day, every day. So I have to do this. I have to make sure that my diet's going to be perfect. I need to make sure that I'm working out every single day because you're ultimately training like an athlete when you do this. And we're not athletes. And we have hormones and we have busy, stressful lives. I mean, kids are not like everyone has a stressful life. They're always busy and we don't recognize it as stress usually. We don't recognize that if we're, working all day, barely feeding ourselves and we're not sleeping well, that's a lot of stress on our body. So we're then adding workouts and we're adding a calorie deficit on top of it that we are exhausted and we're wondering, why am I not seeing any progress? I might have saw in the beginning maybe 5, 10 pounds. So then I think I have to go harder in order to keep seeing these results. And you just start this cycle of having to go to the point where we were really big into intermittent fasting. We started off with doing like what the 16-8, where you would just skip breakfast and then eat your lunch and your dinner. That turned into one meal a day, and we were getting maybe 700 calories in for the entire day, and then doing so many workouts on top of it. You are eventually going to burn out because biology takes over. Your body is like, I can't do this anymore. And whether it shows up like with you with actual serious health problems. I mean, you said your thyroid crashed, hair was falling out, insomnia. My weight started back up. I'm eating the same amount of food, but I am actually gaining weight now. And I'm like, I'm not changing anything. What am I doing? So a lot of women struggle with both sides of that.
I resonate so much with all of that. I feel like I'm looking in the mirror. And I think true health is more about stewardship. And so I'd love to get your perspective on this. So many women tell us that they've prayed for their health, but they've never really invited God into the process. And so I'd love to hear what that looked like for you.
Switching from living for what the world expected from me to what God expected from me. So when I um, came into a very personal relationship with God, when you become a child of God, you become the light. And when you're the light, when you feel like, He shines a light on every situation. And I started to see how the fitness was hurting my life, not just my health, but that going into fitness with an unhealthy, worldly aspect, he showed me how that is going to hurt me, my family. When I went into health and fitness in his light, God gave us a purpose. And I know that my purpose in life is not to look good in a bikini. It's not my purpose. Do I want to? Yeah, of course I want to. I want to feel good in my body. And I think that he gives us permission to want that, and that's fine. And he wants us to be happy. It's not that, he's going to take that away from us just because we're following him, but he wants us to see us, yeah, I will give you that, but do it in my way. And this is what I've seen. If I do it in a way of stewarding my body, the way that you said, loving my body, I can still get the results that I want. But I am doing this to serve his purpose. And by serving his purpose, and here's where I always go, where this is where health and fitness meets your spiritual life. When you are serving God's purpose, you are doing his work, and you're looking at, like, you're the best mom you could be, the best daughter you can be, the best person at work that you can be. But when you lose your health,
Yeah.
that all goes to the side, and all you can see, like when I'm sick, and I am still very, very sick. And when that sickness takes over, there's nothing else I can think of other than not being sick. So this is where health and fitness and following God's purpose in your life come together, because when you're sick,
Yeah.
it is almost impossible to be the best version of yourself, because all you can think about is getting rid of that
Yep.
sickness.
Yep.
So this is where I've seen, now I am doing what I'm doing and honoring my body for God's purpose in my life. And I can't do that when I'm sick. When she knows, when I have my migraines, when I have, these sicknesses that come over me that I suffer from abusing my body, I can't think of anything else, and everything goes out the window. And yesterday or 2 days ago, I had an episode because I overdid it, because the weather turned nice in Pittsburgh, so it was like going all out, walking outside, doing everything, forgetting to eat. Oh, Lent started, so I was not eating as much. Bam, next day, bad, bad, deliberate. I mean, like, I couldn't even function. And I thought to myself, this is, I am no good to anybody when I'm sick. So it is important.
When you invite God into your health and fitness relationship, I mean, you're in the back of your mind saying, okay, I want to do this for my health. I want to do this for God. But you still have that little voice saying, but you want to weigh this much, but you want to look like. And I was like, how do I get that away? Like, that's what was so frustrating to me. I'm like, how do I? And I just brought it to God. I was like, God, take the want of me being 130 pounds away. Like, take the want for me just always being obsessed with what I look like away. And just talking to him and talking through my struggles, I almost treated him like I would treating a coach. And he was kind of my accountability buddy now. And I can go to him with all of this stuff. And it helped me. And then I started to see signs and messages and hear his voice of telling me, like, you're doing the right things. And it was a peace that I was feeling. And I wasn't mirror checking constantly anymore. And I didn't care what the scale said. I just threw it out and was like, I don't need that. It's a slow process. It doesn't just happen overnight, for sure. And it was a lot of me having to remove certain triggers. Of course, social media was one of them for me, because again, I get on that and see, oh, I got to do this diet and go back to that. But it was removing all of those to be able to really hear God's voice and tell me, like, you're on the right path. Keep going.
Right. I love that.
That's beautiful.
Mhm.
Thank you for sharing that. It's
Mhm.
so good.
It's really good.
Absolutely.
Um, how do you help women discern the difference between discipline that honors God and then discipline that's actually driven by our fear, or you mentioned control? How do you help them discern that?
So discipline, you're going to need some of that for health. You
Sure.
are. And, it doesn't have to be a hard discipline, but it still takes discipline.
Sure.
And one of our things that we are always telling people is the food that you eat, it's not all about pleasure. And I think this is where we always go to, is we just want all that food to be so pleasurable. The food that we eat should be nourishing. So we've switched the mindset of, like, what can I do to nourish my body, instead of just like eating whatever, comes to. And I think that's hard in our lives because we're so busy. So convenient processed foods are what we go to, but it is not serving and nourishing our body. So, looking at nourishing ourselves the proper way, this is how you get to your goals. This is how you
Yeah.
let go of control. Like, when you are actually walking in a way of loving your body, this is how, this is what we try to teach our clients.
Yeah, you look at it instead of what do I need to take away? What can
Mhm.
I add now?
Mm.
So, like,
Mm.
For example, just some practical things. Like instead of let me take away carbs, let me add 30 grams of protein to my meal.
Mhm.
Or instead of having to do a whole bunch of cardio, let me add 2 days of strength training to get stronger instead of focusing on that skinny and instead of focusing on the fat loss. So, always coming from a place of adding helps so much, especially my personality. Like, you tell me to not have the cookie, I'm going to want the cookie and I'm going to think about it all the time. So, it's just like maybe I added that protein in and I'm telling myself I could still have the cookie after if I really want to, but I actually nourished my body. And when you do that over and over, you're not going to want it anymore because you feel full and satisfied. And that's not a restriction because you're telling yourself you could still have it.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's good. That's really helpful. And it makes a lot of sense, and to that point, when you're properly fueled, how does that actually change the way that you show up as, a wife, a mom, a friend, or even a leader? I know so many women are under fueling and over extending themselves at the same time. What would you say about that?
Coming from a person of underfueling, I am the definition of that. I remember a lot of anger, a lot of angst, because I was so underfueled that just even the everyday tasks seemed so hard to do. And I would go with it in anger. I remember feeding my family all their favorite foods and everything they wanted, and I had to sit back and eat the plain chicken breast and broccoli and plain, and I would actually be angry. And, so I come up short patient. I would say I had,
Mhm.
lack of patience, always frustrated, never being in the moment. I think that was one of the biggest things that I regret as a mom is I was never in the moment because I was just so worried about what I was going to eat next or what I was going to do for
Or what you were
diet
going to
or
wear.
what I was going to
Mhm.
wear or how I'm going to show up and be skinny and so I think the biggest regret for me coming from a place of constantly depriving and starving myself was not being in the moment, like you had said, going to a function and worried about what I was going to eat instead of worrying about who I'm going to talk to and, who I'm going to you know, get to know. It was just always about what I'm going to look like and what I'm going to eat. It's so life depriving.
This is what pushes people away from going towards health
Mhm.
and
Yep.
fitness to have a healthier
Mhm.
relationship with food because they think it has to be so hard
Yep.
and they have to white knuckle it the entire time. I mean,
Mhm.
it's always like friends and family members are the hardest people to usually get through if you want them to be healthier and you want them to want that lifestyle. They think it's torture.
Yep.
And when you actually come from a place of putting God at the forefront of this relationship and learning how to nourish your body, learning how to get stronger in your body, everything feels so peaceful. And
Mhm.
this actually gives you more energy.
Sure.
This makes you feel that you actually get more done. You're more productive with
Mhm.
yourself. You just have this new mental clarity. That was such a big thing for both of us, is just having clarity instead of brain fog all the time.
Sure.
That you're like, this is amazing, and I want everyone to experience this feeling. But they think they have to white knuckle it and go through all of this like restriction and a lot of workouts to get that way. And that's the total opposite. And you
Mhm.
definitely don't want to go down that path.
Sure.
Again, you go to the dark side.
Sure.
Humility was the biggest lesson I think God had to show me. To be humble, to show up, not to look for everyone to look at me, everyone to see me, everyone it is to
Take that pressure
take
away.
that pressure away and show up for other people and just take the me out of it and put the I in it. What do I see in other people? Not all what they see in me.
Mhm.
And that changed a big part of my health and fitness journey and my life was to show up and be more interested in them
Yeah.
than
Mm,
in what they think of me. And
Sure.
that was a very hard lesson. And the litany of humility is something I have to say to myself over and over. It's a hard thing. I don't know if you guys have ever if you're familiar with it, but the desire to be loved, to the desire to be honored, the desire,
Mhm.
all these things, I when you remove that,
Mhm.
your freedom, I know that's hard. That's a hard thing to say, the desire to be loved. We all want to be loved. I
Sure.
think that's why we do everything, is
Mhm.
to be
Yeah.
loved. but not the desire to be loved by everyone else, the desire to be loved by God.
Mhm.
Mm,
Mhm.
Everything
yeah.
on how you show up.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it is I don't think people understand humility is freedom.
Totally.
Ooh, that's good.
Mhm. If a woman wanted to honor her body this week and she wanted to do it without striving or burning out, could you give her 2 to 3 practices that would encourage her and, help her to invite God into each one of them?
First one, we stand behind this when we start with a new client is getting off of processed foods, getting away from processed foods. And let's choose foods that we know God created for
Mhm.
us because ultimately he knows how to nourish us. He's our ultimate physician, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like he's the one we go to. And he created foods for us that are so nourishing. And these are the foods, not to say that you can't ever have, a cookie or you can't ever have these things. We're not, trying to be perfect, but
Right.
reach and go for the foods that nourish us, which are, the foods that come from God's hand. And
Reach for it before the cookie.
yeah, right. And honestly, if you are filling yourself with that,
Yep.
you're less likely to reach the cookie. We go for the cookie and the processed foods and the fast foods because we're starving ourselves and it's the quick thing. So, yeah, that's one of the first things we would tell people when they come to us.
And the second thing is going to be focusing on strength.
Mm.
Strength is everything because it's when you're younger, it's hard to put yourself in someone that's maybe 60, 70 years old and they want to play with their grandkids and they need help getting off the floor. Like when you're younger, like I'll worry about that whenever I get there. But
Yeah.
this starts at a young age.
Mhm.
For years, I focused on being the skinny and trying to lose fat that I lost so much muscle. And that muscle is our foundation of youth. That's what protects us. I mean, if we fall, it's what protects our bones. And we're coming into this world of all these GLP-1s, the Ozempic, and everyone is now being taught, well, just go on this weight loss drug and that's going to help you get what you want and that's going to make you happy. And it's going to, ugh, it scares me because it is going to destroy so many women's bodies, so many
Mhm.
men's bodies. And it's because we're not only losing fat, we're losing muscle as well. So we're going to turn into, we don't have a obesity problem anymore. We're going to have a bone loss problem. And this is now for the people that are struggling with this at 70 and 80, it's now going to be 50 and 60. And it's scary. So
Mhm.
strength should always be at the forefront of our minds.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And so those are really, really helpful, encouraging words and tips. So thank you for sharing that. And we just want to thank you so much. This has been such a great conversation, Coryn and Crysanne, for sharing your wisdom and just being open and vulnerable about your stories and your hearts with us today. And we're just so grateful for the way you approach health. It's so needed, not from a place of striving or pressure or perfection, but from stewardship and faith and peace, right? Happiness is fleeting, right? We always
Yeah.
hear this happiness is fleeting. The joy of Christ is really what's lasting and eternal. And so we can chase happiness. We can chase, the perfect body, what we think is going to make us happy, but it's not going to last long,
Mhm. Right.
And so this conversation was such a gift. It is such a gift to women who are just tired of striving. And I got there too. I was just like, I went from one extreme to the other of like, I'm done,
Right.
and so I think it's really going to speak to those women who are ready to walk with God in a more life-giving way, in their journey, in their health and fitness journey. And so thank you for reminding us that caring for our bodies isn't about fixing ourselves. It's about honoring what God has entrusted to us
Mhm.
so that we can serve him and others well. That's really what, our lives are about. It's not about living self-centered. It's about serving God. And when we feel our best, you touched on this too, then we can do that well. We can serve him and others well.
Mhm.
And so we're just really thankful for you and the work that God is doing through you. So
Thank you.
would you just remind our listeners about your podcast and where they can tune in?
Yeah. Our podcast is called Her Healthy Body, and you can listen to it wherever you listen to your podcast. I believe it's on all platforms. And then we have our Facebook community as well. It's Her Healthy Body too. So easy to remember.
Awesome.
Right? So we'll put the link in our show notes to your podcast. So everyone listening, be sure to check it out. These two ladies have a lot of great wisdom to share. We just love what you're doing. And to our audience, we just want to leave you with this truth. Your health isn't something to perfect. It's something to steward so that you can live and serve with strength and purpose.
If this conversation resonated with you and you're craving deeper connection, real conversations, and a place to walk this out with other like hearted women, we would love to invite you into our spirit filled sisterhood community. It's a space for women who want to grow in faith, honor their bodies, nurture meaningful friendships, and live with more peace and purpose together, with Christ at the center. You do not have to do this journey alone. Click the link in the show notes and request to join. We'd love to welcome you.
Hey, sister. We hope today's episode encouraged your heart and reminded you that you're not walking this journey alone.
If it did, would you share it with a friend and leave a quick review on Apple Podcasts? It helps us to spread the message of faith, friendship, and kingdom purpose.
Remember, you were made to live surrendered, walk boldly, and link arms with sisters who point you back to Jesus.
We'll meet you back here next Wednesday for more spirit-filled girl talk.